Welcome back to The Real Story. Yet another new twist in the Hillary Clinton email scandal. Judicial Watch claiming newly obtained documents show a nearly 5-month gap in Clinton's emails beginning in 2009 when she was sworn in as Secretary of State. Well, yesterday the State Department dismissing those allegations, attributing part of the gap to the fact that she had just taken office. But the folks at Judicial Watch, well, they're not buying it.
We're not aware of any gaps in the Clinton email set, with the exception of the first few months of her tenure, when Secretary Clinton used a different email account that she has already advised she no longer has access to.
You have a State Department document saying there's a gap, and now we have a State Department spokesman saying there isn't a gap. Who are you to believe? We're asking a court to issue some type of preservation order to make sure the alleged personal emails or other government records that had been turned over aren't destroyed by Mrs. Clinton.
Judge Andrew Napolitano is a Fox News senior judicial analyst, and he's my guest today. So what are we to make of this? There apparently are two different time periods when she's Secretary of State where there are these gaps.
The first time period is the first 2 or 3 months of her tenure. So we're talking about February, March, and April of 2009, during the time period when her now spokesman, Admiral Kirby, says that she used a different server. Now, we know that the young man, Brian Pagliano, who installed the server in her and her husband's home, did so in early February 2009. We don't know when they turned that server on and when she started to use it. But whatever she used for those first 3 months, she has an obligation to get that data, that raw data, into the hands of the State Department because it belongs to the government. It doesn't belong to her. But the more important gap and the more troublesome one is the one that comes in November and December of 2012, because that's the one that follows by 2 months the assassination of Ambassador Stevens in Benghazi, Libya.
Okay. And it was also during the presidential election.
Correct.
So in 2012, and there is that gap there.
Correct. So there's no explanation for that gap because she was using the Clinton server before that gap, and she was using the Clinton server after that gap. Now, we're not talking about a minuscule number. We're talking about a government official who, by her own acknowledgement, sent or received 15,000 emails a year.
Right.
So we're talking about probably 2,500 to 3,500 unaccounted for emails in that 2-month time period following Ambassador Stevens' death.
Okay, Pagliano, the young man who set up her server, he's taken the fifth. But now he's apparently working on a deal for immunity.
Okay, his lawyers have sent a letter to the lawyers for the Congressman Gowdy's committee and to the Senate
Benghazi
Judiciary Committee, correct, saying if he is called to testify and is put under oath against his will, he'll assert the Fifth Amendment. Whereupon lawyers for the two committees have said, would you consider accepting immunity? Now, one does not accept immunity. Immunity is thrust upon one. But before they give somebody immunity, they want to know what he would say if he is immune.
Interesting.
So he is now in the process of telling them enough about what he would say without spilling all the beans because he may not have immunity. Stated succinctly, he's negotiating for immunity by telling them what he will tell them under oath if he gets immunity.
Okay. Judge, thank goodness you know how to explain all that. And it's highly entertaining and interesting. Thank you very much.
Pleasure.